Gary, I'd be lying if I said that game didn't go 5 times better than I expected it to. The Huskers get a great, much-needed win, proving that they can dominate a lesser opponent, which, in years past, has not been a guarantee. Obviously, the score makes it feel a little bit less dominant because they got a garbage time touchdown. But it's important to point out, those were not the Husker black shirts. And I truly believe that if the Huskers left the black shirts out there the entire rest of the game, it would have finished 35-3. There's a burning question, though, Gary. And we'd love for you guys to comment and tell us the answer. Should Matt Rhule and will Matt Rhule put Jeff Sims back at the head of this offense?
I think he will. I think he is going to stick with him or go back to him. Should he or not is going to vary from person to person. But kind of we talked about it at the end of the stream we did. It's irrelevant what we want, like as far as what's going to happen. So there's going to be a lot of people upset, especially any little mistake that Sims makes. We're used to this history of losing. When we see games in similar fashion, to us, it's the same thing, different day or different game. But Rhule's taking this from a full rebuild approach. He's not worried about game to game. He's worried about the system, the culture, all the things he's building from the ground up. And I also understand that. I understand and I tend to agree with just roll with the quarterback that's not turning the ball over, that's letting the offense get into rhythm and flow. But the hype and the excitement that they have based on Sims, I think the injury in a kind of messed up way is kind of a blessing for them. So, and maybe even for Sims, it's a good reason to not have to come out in front of everybody and say we're benching him because he's turning the ball over. But it's a lot easier to just say, well, he's hurt, he can't go. And we've got this other guy who can get us the wins in the games we're supposed to be winning. And you could argue we should have won the first two. But kind of lets him reset, takes a lot of the pressure off of the stages of the new coach and the new system in the first game of the season. And then the second game, which is Dion's first home game, and these sellout crowds on the road. Nebraska didn't have a schedule that's set up like a lot of other schools were playing, Northern Illinois and Louisiana Tech games 1 and 2 and letting everybody kind of gradually ease their way in the water. You know what I mean? Like he just kind of got pushed in. So, but to be fair, so did the rest of the team. And especially on the defensive side, nobody else looked like that. So there's going to be that narrative for sure throughout this week. And then you're going to have the backlash from whoever the quarterback is next week. But like I said, when we were streaming and we talked about that, next week is relevant to me in the sense of who's going to be the starter against Michigan. If he knows it's going to be Sims, I want Sims to have one of those kind of, quote unquote cupcake games to put all the negative things and the bad habits and the ghosts, whatever you want to call it, behind him and be out there against defenses and talent that is supposedly sub Minnesota and Colorado, that he can kind of get a flow and a rhythm and a comfort for the game and the system, mainly in the passing game, seems to be fine running, and then carry that into Michigan. I don't want to see Haarberg do what he did or better. Imagine that. Imagine if Haarberg takes a step from this game and looks even better against Louisiana Tech. Sims hasn't had a chance to work out the kinks in game time scenarios, and then Rhule puts Sims right back in Michigan. Like that, to me, that would be catastrophic. You're essentially messing with the psyche of two of your quarterbacks, the two guys that are obviously going to be the ones you turn to in that scenario. So long-winded way answering your question, I think he's going to go to Sims, back to Sims. I don't personally think he should, at least not now, but I don't think it matters what I think or what you or most of us fans think or whatever. It's just he's going to do things his way. That's what he was hired for. And I really hope that whoever's getting the start against Michigan is able to go and gets the start next week.
Unfortunately, you're probably right. It just feels like Rhule has it in his head that he owes Jeff Sims for whatever reason. Maybe Jeff Sims had an offer somewhere else and Matt promised him, don't go there. Come here. You will start. You're my guy. I've recently fallen in love with Cam Newton. He changed my life. You'll be my new Cam Newton. I can't wait. I promise it's you. And then Jeff Sims comes in and shits the bed completely. And I know it doesn't matter what we think, but for the record, Haarberg has completely outshined him, proven and earned the starting job. And it is a disservice to himself as a coach, the team, and all of the fans to put Jeff Sims in there again until Haarberg proves, oh, well, I actually don't deserve it. Maybe you should go back to, which I don't think is going to happen. I don't think that would happen. It screams as a Bears fan of back when we had Rex Grossman and Kyle Orton. And Rex went down, biggest turnover machine until Jay Cutler the Bears had ever seen. Kyle Orton comes in, and in a much longer window of proving it, shows that he's the better quarterback. Gets the Bears all the way to the Super Bowl. But now Jeff Sims is healthy, and that's who the coach likes better. So he gets to go in and lose the Super Bowl for you.
Yeah, man, I get that perspective, but there's also the other side of the sample sizes aren't the same. The scenarios aren't the same. And I'm not saying that's true. Like, I don't think it's the end all be all, but if that's what they think, so be it. But it is true. Like, playing Northern Illinois at a home night game is not the same as going on the road, your first game in a new program with a new system, all the things we talked about, to a Big Ten foe at night when they have a sellout and you're in that environment trying to do everything from scratch. And it's not the same as going into Boulder when they have the biggest crowd they've had in who knows how many years. There's all this hype. Every channel and media outlet has crowned them the title holders for the next 7 years and the next 9 Heisman Trophy winners, whatever, all of that. They're not the same stage. Now, you can argue, Rhule was saying going into Colorado, just make it football. It's just football. Don't worry about all this extra stuff. When you make it just football, so again, like there's multiple ways you can hold his words against him, or hold him accountable, I should say, not necessarily against him, but like, okay, so take it as just football. Who looked better as a football player at the position of quarterback? Don't worry about the stage. Don't worry about all the things that aren't football, like you yourself said, right? Then it's obviously Haarberg. But he is right, and I think he said that in his post-game conference, that the opportunities or the stages or scenarios or something like that weren't the same. He's right about that. So I'm not saying that to say he's right in deciding Sims because of that. I don't think that that's a lopsided enough difference to say, yeah, you did great, kid, but it wasn't against Colorado in Colorado or against Minnesota in Minnesota. So get back on the bench and let's see what Jeff's got. I mean, to me, it's not as cut and dry as it should be, or as it's going to be in a lot of people's eyes. And everything you just said is 100% true. And the angle that he's going to play is also true. So, it's going to come down to he's the one calling the shots, and it's going to be whatever he wants it to be. You know what I mean? Whether it's Sims' ankle is more severe than we thought, which I don't think that's the case. Why would you suit him up? You already said he wasn't starting. But with the season kind of being a throwaway, I mean, like, obviously we can still get a bowl game. We could lose a couple games and still go to a bowl game, though. I'm just really curious to see. I'm not going to lie to you. There's a part of me that wants Sims to play next week, have a Haarberg-like game, which I think he would do better running than Haarberg did, and then go into Michigan and see if he just happened to have 2 of the worst games of his life back-to-back because of all those things that I said they're going to be using as the reason why, or if he gets in there within a first couple drives where, like, okay, we told you, should have stuck with Haarberg. You know what I mean? Like, I'm curious to see how that plays out. I don't think we're beating Michigan either way, and I don't think we're losing to Louisiana Tech either way. So it's kind of I don't feel like there's a whole lot to lose other than maybe some confidence or some how people take your word amongst the team, if that makes sense.
It's definitely going to be a topic that we're going to be kicking around all week.
Probably 2 weeks, honestly.
The defense, the black shirt defense, Gary, is legit.
Yeah.
Or do you need to see more before you're willing to say that?
Not really. I mean, we're going to see more because Michigan is a very, very good run team, and they're going to run it a lot. We know we're a very good defense against the run. We're going to find out how good in 2 weeks. I haven't seen much of Louisiana Tech yet. I'll definitely go back and watch their games, and as we do videos this week, be a little bit more prepared and understand and recognizing what they're doing. But I don't know where to start with the defense, man. I feel like Hutmaker is really emerging as possibly the best on the line, but then you see Lenhart will roll off consecutive plays where he's either sacking the quarterback or hurrying him, kicking it out. Then you look at like, well, how come Robinson's not getting through there like that? A lot of the double teams are going to Robinson. So now you got Hutmaker taking advantage and just doing what he wants with the one-on-ones. Are they going to have to try and help on him? And is that going to get Robinson going? Other guys are getting through, with the different types of blitz packages we do. The passing game, I've had my issues with the soft coverage, but you see how quick everybody breaks to the ball. The tackling has been phenomenal, in my opinion, this year. The stark comparison between just last year, the year before, to this year is crazy. That's a crazy turnaround for that quick. I mean, if that is really just tackling in practice, like Scott Frost has to be beside himself to think if had his any of his defenses for one season look like that with the offenses we had then, not that they were barn burner offenses, but we weren't struggling to put 30 up on bad teams, you know what I mean? So anyways, that's a whole other topic, but yeah, I can't really say enough good things about the defense, man. And I don't think it's a competition type deal. You know, I don't think it's a, well, wait till you play so-and-so. Yeah, teams are going to run more on us than these last few have. Minnesota, I felt like was kind of forced out of running the ball because it wasn't working, but they're traditionally a run team. Colorado doesn't run a lot, so it's like, okay, you can make that argument. You know, Northern Illinois is they couldn't really do much of anything. So I mean, I know people will kind of negate that to an extent or, you know, kind of scoff at that. But I honestly think the better the offenses get we go against, the better they're going to go up. I feel like they can level up. You know what I mean? There's certain situations or certain drives where I just feel like the intensity is a little higher than others. And I'm really looking forward to seeing that some of these better teams, you know, like mainly Michigan is what I'm thinking of now because that's the closest big game coming up. But I just hope our offense can sustain drives long enough so that they're not beat to hell by the second half like they were the first two games.
Speaking of the offense, the wide receivers are struggling a little bit, but you know who's not struggling is our running backs. They're looking better and better. Unfortunately, we might have lost two of them for a game or two. Who knows? Ramir Johnson goes out early in the game, and then we obviously saw Gabe Ervin limping off the field holding his hip. Not a good sign. It's a really good thing that Anthony Grant had a confidence-boosting performance for himself and for everyone. I'm sure Rhule feels more comfortable with him now. No fumbles from him, some really good gains. It could easily be him and Emmett Johnson going into this next game, and I'm not scared of that at all.
No, and even if your idea is to not run Johnson too much, like I wouldn't rush either one of those running backs back, you know, with the competition we're going to have next week. I would make sure you got somebody that can back up Grant between the quarterback run play. You know, we run a little bit with the receivers, maybe utilize the fullback a little bit more, but I would give them an extra week, even if they are good to go, and just let Grant do his thing, man. Right, get Johnson some clock in there. You know, we talked during the game that we both prefer Grant over Ervin, and that's not a knock on Ervin at all. It's just I think you do too. Grant can do a little bit more. But losing Ramir, man, like they've got pass packages for him. He's your third down back, and he's one of your special team guys. You know, he's one of your returners. Like that could be tough because if our offense is going to be as bad as it looks like it's going to be against Power 5 schools, the defense needs some help. And ideally, you'd like to get that in the special teams. And if all you've got really is Kemp and, you know, who else do you go to? Do you just try to grab another receiver so you're not dropping kicks? Do you have some of the young fast guys? Are they able to field the punts and the kickoffs pretty well? You know, I mean, you kind of start getting into other areas of the game that are impacted if Ramir's out for any significant time. So I'm sure we'll hear that by the time we do our next video. But we don't have the offensive line to do all the things that Satterfield wants to do. That's obvious. You know, like some of the slower developing plays, the misdirections, the things behind the line of scrimmage, stuff like that. The thing Nebraska has to lean on is if they can convert a few first downs with the variations of RPO options and then the normal, you know, either just quick counters or up the middle run plays. As the game progresses, you'll see those plays break for more and more. That's where you need your multiple backs. And that's where a guy like Grant, who likes contact, you're one play away from being down to Emmett Johnson. You know what I mean? So I hope that they can just sustain drives and mix up pass, quarterback run play, things like that, to where you don't have to really use too much of your other guys. And then, again, looking at Michigan, when you're ready for that game, you've got two guys back fresh, has some time off, and you've got another week of kind of developing that offense a little bit more.
Well, it was definitely nice to get a win. It was awesome having everybody in the chat. The live stream went well. Thank you guys for coming out to that. Tell us what you guys think about this win against Northern Illinois. We'll see you guys later this week with the game preview for Louisiana Tech. DeColdis Crawford coming to town. Till then, see you guys next time. Go Big Red.